life on the road.
We're in Vancouver today to talk fiddles and fiddling with a well-known Victoria fiddler and former Victoria Fiddle Society Vice President, Tyler Carson.
Thank you very much.
I think the oldest recording I have of you is this old format called cassette, in which you were playing with the BC Fiddle Orchestra. How did you get into fiddling? How did you get into that group?
I started as a classical student. It was something that my parents just wanted us to do, along with soccer and swimming and all these other things we were doing. Well, we should go take music lessons. And my first violin teacher was Polish, and as the Eastern European school of teaching tends to be, she was a little bit strict. And one day she said, "Tyler, you're a very talented boy, but you're very lazy." And the thing was, I was already practicing for half an hour a day, 45 minutes on a good day. And this was at the very beginning, between 5 and 8 years old. And she said, "But I want you to stay committed to violin, so go to the Calgary Fiddlers while you're doing classical." And that hooked me. That was really my first performance with the Calgary Fiddlers. We had an opportunity to step out and do a solo, which was only like one section of a fiddle tune. And the audience responded to my playing right away, and I went, "That's it." I think I found my calling. And that sort of wetted my tongue for fiddling in a group. And so when I came to Victoria, I was fortunate to meet Daniel. Just as he was getting into teaching, he was actually playing a square dance at my old elementary school. And my folks went up and said, "Hey, would you teach our kids?" He went, "Sure, good idea." And then pretty quickly things developed. Dan's always coming up with creative ideas, and came into this fiddle orchestra with some really talented players, and that was the beginning of a lot of things. Certainly in the Victoria music scene, that was something that I think started as a movement of fiddlers. The other thing Dan did around that time was he offered us our first gig. We played at the museum for a wine and cheese, and so we had a great time playing that. People really liked it and started asking us for our phone number. So we went, "Oh, okay, well," we started busking, started hanging out business cards. Next thing you know, people would take them as we just give them to everybody we could, and people started calling us. The reason that I think that we did so well was that we always put on a show. We always made sure that we were entertaining. Our music was obviously what we used to entertain, so we had to work hard at our music, but putting on the show was important, and that's how we ended up touring in Japan and Thailand. Just after we got back from Thailand, we had a showcase with the Victoria Symphony. We did a half classical and half fiddle, which I started out playing classical music, so it worked out really well that created the opportunity, really. Doing the Jerry Lewis Telethon in Hollywood was probably the peak show that we played as the Carson Kids. Actually, by that point, we were the Carsons. Because my voice had dropped and nobody believed I was a kid anymore. And then we became Kid Carson later on. Just couldn't get away from it, I guess. But that was also a bit of a play on Kit Carson, which is our grandpa's nickname, and also a legend in country western. When I was around 15 or 16, I started singing, and it was natural that we started singing country songs, because that was the persona that we had created. Even though we did a lot of Celtic music in our playing, showbiz, we put on cowboy hats, and we were definitive. People recognized us with our fiddles, and my sister and I with our fiddles and 2 cowboy hats.
It's a while since we've seen you at a Fiddle Society jam. We really miss having you around.
Well, I miss Victoria too. There's so many great things about Victoria, and I've hidden away a little bit in Vancouver in the past year and a half, really sort of stripping back things. My sister and I have gone on separate paths at the moment, and so that's really freed me to go, "Oh, okay, hang on a second, what do I really want to say with my music?" In the music industry, the only way you can figure it out is to do it. You just have to dive in and find your own way. And for me right now, I'm doing all those different things. Like, I have a Celtic band that I play with, and I have a bluegrass band that I play with, and I session with different people. I go and record. I teach regularly, which helps me on a number of different levels as well. It's a bit personal in terms of the growth.
It's very educational to be a teacher.
Exactly. Yeah. The jazz has been a really great thing. Really opened up my playing. It's something that I've always been attracted to, but I didn't really realize I was attracted to it. Dan Lapp and a number of, like, Mark Atkinson and Chris Fry, a number of groups that he had through that course I was studying with Dan at the time. So I would occasionally go down to Pagliacci's and see them playing. And I remember Sweet Georgia Brown was a tune that always stuck in my head. Significance, like the Globetrotters and that kind of thing. I just recognized the tune and liked it, and something about that style really appealed to me, but I never had the opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity until I moved to Vancouver, met a couple people that were around my age and looking for a violin player, and then next thing I know I was playing Stefan Grappelli, listening to a lot of that old jazz, and boy, it's so freeing, especially after Celtic and country. All of a sudden you're going up the neck and you're starting to bridge the gap between classical and fiddle. It's funny how different things click, and all of a sudden that bridge opens up a whole new world of getting closer to your own sound. I play with lots of different styles. I'm really enjoying rock and blues. It's something I really enjoy playing violin on.
Rock meaning what?
My improv tends to take me towards sounding like a rock guitar player.
Right.
In fact, I was playing a blues jam that they have every week here at the Yale, and they're all shocked when I show up with a violin, and then went over really well, and one of the people came up and said, "Wow, you play violin like a guitar. That's really cool." And of course, that depends on what my setting is. But when I have the opportunity, I really like to lay into that sound. But I need the classical chops again to do that, and I also need the fiddling background. It all
cast off fear.
What's that?
The fiddling background helps you cast off fear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's just fun, right? That's what it instills. It's all fun. I'm still studying. In fact, I'm practicing about 3 hours a day right now on just my classical, and absolutely loving that. And then I try and balance that with about 3 hours of songwriting, vocalizing, developing my voice. I'm studying voice as well. And then checking out the internet, watching bands and seeing what's happening, keeping in touch with the industry. And that's why I've been going to LA as well. I've been going back and forth, made about 6 trips in the last couple of years. Prior to that, I went to Nashville a couple of times. And I'm really just searching to find my voice again in terms of my artistic voice. Where am I going to go with things? And it's just this process of layering upon layers. You keep shooting out all these different directions, and that's where I've always come from. I was never held back from, I'm a classical player. By held back, I mean I never had that in my own mind. I never had, I'm a classical player, I'm a fiddler, I'm a Celtic guy, I'm a bluegrass guy. I always like playing all these different things, so I have a little bit more to chew and digest right now. But it's coming along, and I think it's narrowing in the vision of where I want to go. But ultimately, as you asked, where do I want to go? I think definitely vocals are going to be a big part of that. That was something I developed later on. By that I mean around 15, 16 I started getting into it. And in the production of my songwriting and my band, I want the violin to be a major part. And hopefully I'll have some innovative way of approaching the violin so that I'm creating my own sound as a violin player and incorporating all these different styles that I've studied all along. And that will be once it fuses, then I'll have my artistic statement to go out and release my records on the big scale. I've been playing those tunes for a long time.